Now we've done all the basic parts of it now. We've got the buttons in there, we've got the formulas and all. Let's add a couple of charts to finish this project off. So what I'm looking at here is we need to have an area chart. And I mentioned those earlier. It looked a bit like a line chart, but it was filled up down below it. But I want to have a basis of comparison. And so I basically need to have another line of the chart that just reads 100% going all the way across. So to do that, we're going to add another line down below difference called baseline and just put ones all the way across. Consider that it's going to be like 100%. And then we can compare that 100% to the 71%, 48%, or whatever to show how we're actually matching up. So let's begin with the baseline part. So skip a line and below difference put in baseline and just ones. 1, 1, 1, 1. There. Okay, so to build the formulas now, to build the actual chart, we have to highlight what we want to work with. Now, like we did in an earlier lesson, you have to be careful in how you click and highlight and all. We're going to highlight F7 through J7, then hold down the Control key and get F16 through J17. That's that difference row. Actually, I think it's probably just F16 to J16, as 17 doesn't sound right. And then highlight F18 to J18, the baseline. So let's do that. So first, I want the labels. Then I'm going to hold down my Control key and get the difference line here. Let go. Come down, hold down the Control key. Oh, I may have just messed that up. Let's see what happens. And I need the baseline here. So it's really tricky on that thing. In fact, let's just start over. I'm going to get it right. It's easier to get it right now than it is to try to fix it. So hold down the Control key. Highlight across. It's hard to do this on a laptop, but you probably know that. And across. Got them. Okay. Now we're going to insert an area chart. Now it's not listed right here, so let's go into recommended and all charts, and let's go down to area. That looks like it right there. Perfect. Okay, so let's select that one. Hit OK. And I'm going to move this down a little bit over here somewhere. So I went to Insert, chose the area chart. I didn't see it on my list, so I had to go into the all the menu of all of them, which was I chose Recommended and chose All, and I was able to find it in there. Now the point here is the series are in the wrong order. And I mentioned this earlier when I was dealing with in the other lesson about how to deal with data series, and that sometimes you'll have one that's covering up the other. So if we could just have the 100% be in the background, then we can leave the one in the front that we're actually dealing with, the one we're changing the numbers and everything, put that in front of this big red box here, and you'll be able to see where you're short and where you're not. So let's try that out. So to do that, we're going to go into Chart Design, then choose Select Data, and then change the order of the series. So make sure the chart is selected. Let's go up into Chart Tools, Design, Select Data. Here's Series 1, Series 2. I'm going to just move Series 1 down 1. Hit OK. So now I can see we exceed 100% here, but are under 100% by a lot for calcium and phosphorus. Okay? So, should have done it while I was there. We'll go back into it. So while we're doing that, we can change the names of those. Notice how it said Series 1, Series 2, not real useful. So we're going to change one of those to be target and the other one to be actual. Now, a lot of the times when you're building these charts, you'll be pulling it from the actual area here. There'll be some words that you'll pick from. But we had difference in baseline, and that wasn't going to work, and there was nothing here. So let's go back into Select Data. There's Series 2. Series 2 is first, so that must be the blue one here, and that is our actual. So I'm going to hit edit, and just right where it says series name, just type actual. Now if the word actual was somewhere here on the page, you could just click on it, like target is. In fact, I'll use that. Edit, and I'm just going to click on that word target so I don't have to type target again. Okay, so it looks like I have the names backwards. Okay, let's go fix that. Edit. That's actually going to be that one. And then this one is supposed to be the word actual. There we go. So blue, actual, red, target. Okay. So next then is to do some formatting of the axis. You may have noticed it had 0, 0.2, 0.4, and so forth, but it's supposed to represent a percentage like 100%, 80%, and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the format of the axis and then get rid of the decimal as well. So to do that, we start off by right-clicking on the axis of this chart right here. So I'm going to right-click on that and say Format. Okay, so here we are, and we have all the different things we can do. We can change how far the words are away, where it crosses. I just want to go down here to numbers, and I'm going to say, nope, it is a percentage, thank you. A percentage with 0 decimal spots. There, see how that does that? Perfect. Now, is there anything else we wanted to add while we were there? Nope. Okay, so now in this version of Excel, I don't have to hit OK or anything like it was in the other version. If you're running an earlier version, 2013 or so, you make those changes on the menu, you hit OK to apply it, and it happens. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so a little bit of formatting on here. We have the legend at the bottom, so we're good there, so we don't have to change that. We have a chart title at the top, but there's nothing in it. So let's change that to read nutrient mixture. And then I'm thinking, well, let's pick one of these other design templates, one with a black background. So let's do that first and see, because sometimes when you choose these, it's going to change everything else. So we'll do that first. Now there's different ones with a black background. Just pick the one you like. Oh, I like that one. But pick the one you like, or put the black in there yourself. Okay, I'm going to go with that one. Plus, I don't have to change this. It's done. These were left alone, so I'm good there. I'm not crazy about how big that available phosphorus is. I'm going to edit that word. So I'm just going to come up here and just make it say phosphorus. That's better. You might even do the same thing for protein. Okay. So, and then we said we were going to name this. So you just click on the title and start typing. Nutrient mixture. Now you don't notice it until you hit enter, and then it goes in. Okay. So we added the design and turned it to one with a black background. We made sure that there was labels. Oh, we want to put the labels at the bottom. Oh, that would look nice. I don't see labels at all on that one. I think that I meant to say here is I want to put the legend at the bottom, and it already was there, so we're good with that. We changed the chart title. We changed title. Now, if you didn't have a chart title and you didn't have labels for some reason, remember you can turn those on here in this plus sign. This little menu pops out, and you can either put them on the sides. You can choose which one you want to see. Chart titles, etc., etc. Okay. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. So there's the first one. Looks a lot like the one I made. Okay. Pie chart next. So we have those numbers, 15, 22, whatever. They were proportions. So we're going to highlight those, but I also want you to get the names of the different types of feeds. Hold the control key down and then get the numbers. Now we don't have to change them into percentages because a pie chart always does that anyways. They look at their total numbers and figures out, well, that must be all of them. That's 100%. What do these numbers add up to? So we don't have to worry about that here. So I'm going to click on this. There. So I've got this highlighted. Control, click. Don't go straight across. Just highlight those. Control, highlight those. Now, insert. I'm going to grab a pie chart. Thinking a 2D might be nice. Put it down next to this one. And there's the chart. Okay, so it looks like before I used a 3D. I'm not quite as fond of those as I used to be. So you can do either one. Now we're going to add a title to it that says feed mixture portions. We're going to add data labels, add a legend across the bottom, and make sure it has a black background. So let's do the background first again. So I've got that. I'm going to use the same one, so now they sort of look the same as well. I'm going to put my title on here. What was the title supposed to be? Feed mixture portions. Feed mixture portions. Enter. Okay, we've got the labels already at the bottom. Remember, if they're not there, you can use the plus sign, choose legend. You can even pop this in here. See how it moves to the side? So now maybe I want it on the bottom. Okay, next, data labels. Now we did this in the earlier assignment. How we did this was right-clicking on one of them and choosing Add Data Labels. Okay, now you could have also done it from here. Now I'm seeing the numbers. Not crazy about the way that looks yet. But let's leave it for now. Okay. So last bits here. Now the formats of the spreadsheet, what we're going to do is we're going to cover all the area you can see. Let's fill it with black. Then we'll change all the font to white. And then what the neat trick of this then is we'll pick the things we don't want people to see and we'll turn that into black font as well. So it'll still be there on the screen, but what this is going to do is they won't see it, but we can reference it, like that baseline of all those ones. Who wants to see that? And there's other things as well, like the little numbers that were down on the side that said what the types of feeds were, but there's buttons next to it that said the same thing, so make that black. Then use center and bold as you're needed. Try adding a picture somewhere in here. Then when that's all done, we're going to go back up, and everywhere you want someone to type in, let's change the color of that square back to white again. So again, I'm going to start off, and I'm going to highlight the entire spreadsheet area. Maybe a little bit more to the side here. I'm going to fill all of this with black. Oh, now I'm wishing I maybe had chosen a different background on these things because they look odd with a... Okay, I think I will too. So, how do we do that? I'm going to right click on the area and I could just choose fill black. Now I believe the same trick we used to use in Word would work here, where the formatting you did before, you just touch it and apply it again. So I'm going to click here and use the F4 key, the same thing we did for that lockdown. Let's see if it works. It did. So that was like using the the format painter on the same area. All right, so now those don't stand out quite as much. Now we need to turn all the fonts white. So I'm going to highlight all that area again and change my font to white. Let's start to look nice. So these are the things I was saying we can make disappear. I don't really need to see that, but maybe I do. So you can see the slider. We'll leave that one, but this one definitely not. That doesn't serve any purpose except for to put the labels right here. That was the only point of it, was those labels here. So we got that out of the way. So I'm going to turn that font to black. So it's still there and it's still working. Okay, now we had something through here as well. I can't get to it in the charts there, so I'm just going to highlight over it. There. And I'm going to turn that to black. Word of warning here. Your first temptation idea might be, if I wanted to get those ones, was just to click here on the header, 18, maybe even 18 and 19, and then fill that to black. There's a problem with that. The reason I definitely recommend against it is, see how this here? it is going to highlight and make it black from here all the way on out to the very far right end of the spreadsheet, which is a long ways. And why that's an issue is then Excel, because you formatted way over there, Excel now has to keep track of all the squares going down to where you finished and all the way to the far right. So suddenly your spreadsheet has just like quintupled in size, a lot slower on processing. In fact, I've seen ones around workplaces where someone will bring in a spreadsheet and they can barely run it. And it's a simple sheet, but it's because a few places people had highlighted all the way off to the right or all the way down and filled it with a color. So try to avoid doing that. It makes a mess. Okay, so the last things then is let's just go through and catch things we forgot. Like I think we forgot to wrap text here. And maybe center that. That could use a bolding. And a different white. That's not very white. Oh, it's just because it was highlighted. Okay, you might go through and see that crude protein. I don't like the way that fits anymore. I'm going to change that, but that's just me. Oops. Escape. Back that out. Yeah, I like the way that looks better. Might change phosphorus to potash. It'd fit better. Whatever. I'll just make it a little bit wider. And a little bit wider. There. Okay, so there was a couple things I wanted to do last. I wanted to go through and change the areas that you would actually type in. So let's do that. This then we're going to, escape. I'm going to fill this with white and then make the font black again. You could just remove the formatting there. And was there anywhere else? We don't need to change this one because that's going to be changed by this. We're good here. I think we're about it. The only other thing I could see possibly wanting to do is you don't have to, but I think I'm going to, is I'm going to make it so they all have the same number of decimal spots. So I'm going to decrease it first and then increase it. There we go. I like the way that looks. Okay. The picture. I forgot the picture. All right, and it'll be points off, so don't forget the picture as well. So let's stick a picture in here. Insert. And a picture. So we're looking for photos. It's hard when it's closed in like this. Here we go. Illustrations. And then online pictures. And I'm just going to type chicken. Maybe even brown chicken. Brown chicken, brown cow. Here's one. Insert. Now it's probably going to be huge. Yep, it is. So I'm just going to make it smaller. Always, always drag pictures from the corners. That way you keep the proportions. If you drag it from the edges, on like one of these middle areas, you're going to squish the picture and it won't keep the same proportions. So there we are. Here's a cool thing. Notice how I have this little guy here? What if I want him facing the other way? You can do that. Picture tools. Format. We have a rotate, but there's also flip. Love that one. I'll make him a little bigger now. Alright, now I'm getting carried away. I'll leave it alone. So, this would be a good place to save it. Maybe change this a little bigger. I think I'm happy with this. Oh, I could center this. I could keep playing with this, but you stop when you're happy with the way it looks. Okay. So, that looks pretty close to what I have. Did I forget anything else? Oh, here I have it on the side. The direction said to put it at the bottom, so I got that one right this time. Okay, we've stuck our charts on there. We've filled it in with colors. This should work. So, that brings us to the end of our project. I'd like you to go ahead and finish tidying it up, save it, and upload it on up for grading. Thank you very much.